Welcome to episode 4 of No Cash, No Worries. It's been a long time coming and I apologize for not having this out to you sooner. I've not been very well. I found it very overwhelming to try and make this video, so I'm changing it up and I'm going to film this in parts. So likely 2 parts, maybe there'll be a 3rd part. Today we're going to look at how to set up your Square device to accept audience-initiated electronic donations whilst busking. This means that you don't have to interrupt your performance to accept electronic donations, and it's been wonderful to have this over the past 18 months as an option for people, and I've had plenty of people using it, so it's been a great addition to my busking setup. In today's episode, we're going to look into the equipment you'll need, and in the next part, we will look into how to set up the app to optimize it for this setup. Just jumping in from the future, I will link up here and in the description box down below the previous 3 episodes where I went over what I was looking for in a payment device and then looked at the reader and the Square stand against that sort of measure. So if you're interested in seeing those, you can find the links there. And I think potentially in part 3 of this, I will go into how these now stack up against my ideal payment device list with these adjustments. So starting off, we've got 2 stands here. This one is a light stand, but you could use a tripod as well. And this one is a speaker stand. I needed something a little bit more heavy duty for the Square stand's weight to make sure it was nice and secure. On my right here, I have the Square reader, and on my left, I have the Square stand. There's also the Square terminal, if you're in America, the Square mount, and there's also the latest tap and pay through Square that is available on NFC capable mobile devices. On the light stand, I have a clamp style dual device holder, which is holding the phone and the Square reader side by side. The great part about the Square reader is that it fits just like a phone, so any sort of phone mounts will do. If you decided to, you can actually use this setup with a tablet or an iPad. So you could use a larger screen with a tablet or iPad and then just have a single phone mount for the Square reader next to that. To mount the Square stand on the speaker stand, I have actually used part of a tablet holder mount, which clamps on, so you screw it in and it will clamp against the speaker stand, and then out from it there's actually a little hole. So usually this bolt would go through that hole and it would clamp onto this mount, but because we're using the Square stand, I've used the included desk mount bolt to secure it onto the mount there. You can really do a lot of this in so many ways. So, you know, if you've got things around the house that are gonna work, then use them. I happen to have this in a Kmart light that I bought and I was like, oh, cool, I'll use that. So going up a little higher, we have the audience instructions. And I wanted to make it really clear to anyone coming up what they needed to do to make this work. And so I've written this up. I will link it down below so you can go and download it if you'd like to, and then you can either print it off as it is or make your own adjustments and print it off that way. I just wanted to save you guys some time because these did take me quite a while. There are a few differences between using it on Android or using it on an iPad. I'm not entirely sure about an iPhone, whether it works exactly like the iPad because I don't have an iPhone, but you know, make any adjustments that you need, just kind of check that they match up. When you're doing it in this setup, there is an additional step, and when you're doing it in this one, you have one less step. Over here is quite a cheap option for the sign, which is just to get a Velcro cable tie and stick it to the back of a piece of like matte photo paper. It's a little bit thicker. But that being said, I have these instructions in a plastic sign holder, and this is like a wall mount one, and I find that that's a lot better for me not destroying signs like this in my busking travels because yeah, this would be really beat up. I've only just attached this to show a different way, but you know, you can put some ribbon on it and tie it somewhere or tape it or whatever. But this one actually has a tripod mount on the back that I super glued on. So this is a little cold shoe adapter, and it has a couple of these discs on it, and they have a tripod thread. So I found a video by the Frugal Filmmaker called Add a Tripod Mount to Anything, and that told me to super glue one of these onto something, and then I have a tripod mount, so that was really helpful. And so far I've been able to restrain myself from doing it to everything, just done it to the sign. But these come in a pack of like 4, and there's 2 on each, so you get 8 and you can add them to things, so it's pretty cool. I will link anything that I can down in the description box below as well, just in case you want to go and check them out. But my setup has actually changed a little bit with the square stand. I have it mounted onto my new trolley now. It's got some mounting holes, and so I don't even need the whole stand section. I just put it on the trolley and there it is. When I was actually using this setup, I was using this little flexible tripod mount over the top and then using the plastic sign connecting it on. So in terms of the devices here, the square reader can be paired with a phone, an iPhone, an iPad, or a tablet. It just has to meet these requirements. And here's just an example of if you were using an iPad or a tablet. You get the similar sort of screen as on the square stand, but just paired with your square reader. I will say though, on this mount in particular, it is trying to pull this light stand over. So if you're going to go the tablet or the iPad route, I would perhaps suggest going for the speaker stand. So then we have the square stand. So the square stand in Australia is $150, and then you need to have your own iPad to put into that. So it does get a little bit expensive if you don't already have the iPad. I luckily already had it for doing some music stuff, and I've ended up using it for this. So that was handy. And I have used my old phone here because I wanted to keep my personal phone separate. So there's less risk, as well as just being able to live stream on my phone and still have this set up. I also decided to get a data SIM for this phone so it could have completely separate internet access. I paid $10 a month. In the case of the square stand, my iPad isn't LTE, so I don't have any internet when I'm out of Wi-Fi. So because I've been using this setup now, I just use the old phone to hotspot over to the iPad. So you can definitely just hotspot from your personal phone over to another device, or if you're going to put your own phone out there, just be aware that it's risky. You know, anything we take out busking is at risk of damage, misuse, or theft. So, you know, just be aware of that and weigh the pros and cons for you as to whether you think it's worth it. So we have the reader and we have the stand, but there's also the terminal. And if you're in America, there is the square mount, which is the square stand without the stand part. The setup for the square mount would be very similar to this, except that it has a Visa mount on the back, or a Vesa mount, I don't know how you say it. And that would just need to be connected onto a Vesa mount that attached to the speaker stand. The terminal has a, is it 1/4 inch thread underneath? And so that's ready to go on a tripod mount. So the terminal does have the benefit of not requiring internet access to accept payments, just with the risk that when you go back into Wi-Fi, which you need to do within 24 hours of accepting payments offline, they may bounce. I don't think that would happen often, but there is that possibility. While we're talking devices, Square now has tap and pay for NFC enabled devices. So you go in and you enable that within the Square point of sale app, and that means you actually don't require a device of Square's at all, because you have your phone and that's able to take the payment. So if you're comfortable with having your NFC enabled device up front when you're busking, then you could just have a mobile phone. And how easy is that? So another key thing which you might be noticing here in the frame is power. So the reader here is rechargeable and the phone obviously rechargeable, but the Square stand requires constant power. I luckily already have a battery and inverter set up for my busking, for my keyboard and my amp, so I was able to just plug the Square stand in along with those two things. But that being said, you can power it with a 45-watt power bank. So there is an option if you don't have this sort of setup yourself. Just jumping in here because I didn't really elaborate on the 45-watt power bank situation. I have this little clip from when I tested out an 18-watt power bank that I'll just show you now. This can be run off a power bank, it just needs to be powerful enough. It is running off of an 18-watt power delivery power bank currently, but I can hear some electrical buzzing, and I don't think you're getting the absolute best capability for it. So I think a 45 watt power delivery power bank would be the go. And the reason why I'm saying 45 watt when, you know, the 18 watt was making it work is because of the details on the back of the power brick for the square stand. And so it has output 5 volt, 3 amp, 15 watts, all the way through to 20 volts, 2.25 amp, 45 watts. And so I don't know exactly which one of these matches the square stand, but you know, best to go for the top figure there. That's probably the safest option. So I actually looked up what's available in a 45 watt power bank, found one on Amazon for $50 with a $10 off coupon for me today, and I purchased it to give it a try because I think you might have questions about, well, how long does that last? What one should I get? How big a capacity do I need? That sort of thing. So it's a 10,000 milliamp hour one that I have purchased, and from calculations online, it seems like that should last for 3.5 hours with the square stand, but we will see. I won't be able to update you in this part, but in part 2, I will let you know how I went. Okay, back to the video. Now, in terms of the square reader and the phone, I never had any issues over a couple of hours of my phone dying, and the square reader is meant to last for a full day. But if you did want to keep constant power to your phone while it was set up like this, then you could get another power bank and a long cable, and that would work. I did end up upgrading my battery and inverter setup earlier last year, and I will go into that probably in another video when I show you what my equipment currently is like. Hello, Anna. No. So if you are considering the square stand, you might be thinking, how am I going to take that around with me? And I ended up with this solution. Here we have a laptop case. It's got some nice foam padding to it. Cost me $10 at Kmart. And I just slip that over and zip it up a little bit. And then I also have this little purse with a little bit of foam in it, and that would slip over there. It's not going to do it at the moment because I've got it hooked up under here. But then I would just grab this, and these containers I got last year, they're easy storage bunkers. I don't know whether they're still selling them or whether they sell them where you are. It's a container, right? And then I would just put that in and make sure I don't shake it. But I went to all this effort of like making all this foam padding stuff, and then I didn't end up finding it very useful at all. So it's fine. I've been using it like this for like the better part of 18 months. So it's all good. And also the mounting bolts or screw or whatever you want to call it, I just did use a little bit of foam in the side to give it its own little place. Okay, whatever. Just so I didn't lose it, but it's pretty simple. And obviously if you're taking the square reader out and the phone and stuff, everything will go down really compactly, so no big worry there. So it's the night time and my animals are just like really coming alive at the moment. And I'm hoping that Zoe doesn't pick up squeaky toys and do all that, because I'd like to finish this video if I could. Okay, so I think next up is to bring you in and just let you have a look at these screens so I can kind of go through the basics of that. All right, so on the screen I have some items and I've set up their thumbnails to have their corresponding amounts and a nice solid color behind them. Basically the person comes up, presses what they want, presses review sale, presses charge, and then it's ready to go. With this button up here, I made a custom donation one, which I don't even know if you can see. It might just be a bit blown out there. Hold on. Hopefully that is visible. So say $12, add, review sale, charge, and good to go. And these are all organized in the favorites tab. I realize there's devices out there that will do a recurring transaction over and over again, and it's quite simple. But I wanted the multiple donation amounts. I wanted them to be able to choose, not just have a set amount already configured in. And I think this achieves that. There are different ways to do it, including the keypad, but we'll look at them in the second part. This is my bed now, is that what you're saying? All right, so over in the square stand, we have basically the same thing. We have a bit more space for items, so I've been able to add a lot more of the different donation amounts. There's still our custom donation button down here where we can add in what we'd like. We get a 00 button, which is nice. And then the plus, which is nice and big, so seems pretty intuitive. We already have a review sale window over here. And so when we click on the blue button, it's straight to charge. And then we get this really nice clear screen that shows the amount in a large font. And then we have tap and insert, and we get these lights. How awesome are those lights? So it's saying I can insert over here or I can tap up here. There's also the benefit of renaming the favorites tab to choose amount, then arrow down, click charge and donate with just another little prompt for the audience member. There's also another screen that you could use, but I very much like the default screen over this one because the amount's quite small compared to what you get on the other, and it just doesn't seem as nice. And this screen is one that you only get with the square stand or the square mount. It's not available on the tablet and iPad regular version of the point of sale app. And just to show you a little further, this is my Android tablet, Samsung tablet. And so that's what the app looks like in portrait mode. And then here we have it in landscape mode. So it looks very familiar. And once again, you get the review sale window that's already there. And we're over to a charge button. Now, that's the screen it will bring up. So when you have the NFC enabled device, you can just click on that, review sale, charge, and then hit tap to pay. And there we go. So it's a fairly nice screen. It could be a good option. In the app, I have changed a bunch of settings to limit what the audience member can access, as well as just making this as intuitive as possible. But I will leave that till part 2 and go into all of that with you then. So I hope this has been helpful and that you've enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up down below. Sorry, my dog is chewing one of her chew toys and I better let her go with that. I hope to be back with part 2 fairly soon, but it all depends on my health and just how everything goes. So I can't make any promises, but at least this will have given you a place to get started with it. If you're interested in seeing part 2 or any other future videos from me, then please consider subscribing and turning on notifications. But yeah, I hope this will help you in your busking journey to adapt to this new world of busking with less cash, but hopefully more donations. All right, have a wonderful day and I will see you soon. Bye. I have tried to film this, edit it so many times that I have lost count.
Welcome to episode 4 of No Cash, No Worries. To start out, you'll need a square reader, a phone, a tripod or light stand, a clamp-style dual device holder, an acrylic sign holder, some customer instructions, a Neewer 1/4-inch tripod adapter, some super glue, and a Ballhead tripod mount. We're going to be screen recording on my phone how to set up this app to be somewhat like this, with multiple donation amounts to allow for customer initiated donations. Where I'm at right now, I need to break this into chunks to get this video done so I don't exhaust myself. I was in hospital about a week and a half ago. I haven't been that well lately, but I am improving. I just need to take better care of myself and limit what I'm doing. I'll also run you through the equipment side of things so you can create your own self-serve donation kiosk for your busking setup. I actually realized while setting up to film this video that it says $1 minimum, and that's been proven wrong. I've had one kid came up and was like, I'm gonna donate 1 cent. So, you know, it worked for 1 cent. So the $1 minimum, I will take that off the sign before I share the link with you guys.